Hey guys, tonight we unravel a story hidden between the pixels of your screen, the shadows in your hallway, and that voice you've heard once or twice that never quite sounded like your own. Imagine this: you're lying in bed, the room dim, your thoughts soft, and suddenly, the hum of something electric, something ancient ripples through your world. You feel it in your fingertips, like static before a storm. And you know, without knowing why, that something is trying to wake you. This isn't just another nighttime story. It's a whispered code. A slow, spiraling descent into a reality you were never supposed to see. One that has always been there, beneath the one you call real. You probably won't survive this, unchanged. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on the Chosen One concept in the comments below. Share any spiritual numbers like 444 or 777 that you've encountered, or simply type Amen if something resonates with your soul. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The static grows louder. You're sitting in your room, scrolling, drifting into that weird headspace between wakefulness and dreams when you notice something odd. A high-pitched tone, not quite tinnitus, not quite silence. It vibrates in your jaw. You shake your head and check your phone. The screen flickers for a second, just a glitch. Right. But something about it feels intentional. Like someone tapped the system just to get your attention. And then your left hand tingles. It's not pins and needles, it's more like an echo. As if your palm remembers holding something it hasn't yet touched. You look around. The room is exactly the same, yet somehow entirely different. The air feels thicker. You hear the hum again. Not from the walls, not from the ceiling, from within. This is how it starts for the chosen ones. Not with trumpets or scrolls delivered by winged angels, but with an eerie nudge inside the mundane. In ancient times, mystics believed that initiation always began with disturbance. The Sufi poet Rumi once said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Scholars still debate whether spiritual awakening is triggered by external events or internal readiness. But tonight, your signal has been sent. You reach to turn off the light, but pause. The shadows in the corners seem more alive than usual. Not threatening, just watching. Observing, perhaps even waiting for you to notice them. The same way you felt watched in crowded rooms, not in fear, but in quiet recognition. Like someone out there sees what you've tried to hide. You remember that moment from The Matrix, right when Neo's computer screen spelled out a direct message just for him. It wasn't loud, it was almost polite, but it unraveled everything. That's what this whisper in the static is, an unraveling. A soft invitation to step away from the programmed world and look behind the curtain. You glance again at your screen. A random video plays, except it's not random. It says something that feels tailor-written for you. A line about a destiny, about being different. You feel exposed, curious, slightly creeped out, and yet intrigued. This is the first sign the Chosen One always receives the call through distortion. In Japanese folklore, there's a belief in Yugen, a profound, mysterious sense of beauty in the unseen, that the most powerful truths arrive as glimpses, not declarations. So maybe what you're feeling is Yugen, the sense that something meaningful just brushed past you, even if you can't prove it. Then comes the scent. It's subtle ozone rain, burning wood. You're not near any of those things, but it floods your senses. Your heart rate rises just slightly. Not from fear, from anticipation. Like your soul recognizes something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. You get up, walk slowly to the window, outside. The world is still, but there's a shimmer in the sky. Could be the city lights. Could be something more. Your thoughts start to wander to that recurring dream you used to have, the one where you were running, barefoot, through a desert of light, where the stars pulsed when you looked at them. You haven't thought about that dream in years. Until now, a theory in certain fringe circles claims that dreams are echoes from parallel lives you're living elsewhere. Not just metaphors, but bleed-throughs. So maybe, just maybe, your dream self is trying to remind your waking self that you've always been more than a name and a phone plan. You take a breath, that buzz in your ear. It's not gone. It's syncopating, like a code, like it's responding to your heartbeat. You try to ignore it, but it pulses in rhythm with your breath now. Breathe in, buzz. Breathe out, buzz. There's a growing truth. The world you've called normal may be the illusion. The veil is thin, and thinning further. You are not here by accident tonight. Something's knocking from the other side, and the password, it's embedded in your frequency. You sit back down, open your phone again. This time, it doesn't flicker. It glows. Not from the brightness setting, but from somewhere else. Somewhere deeper. You see the number 444. Again, same as yesterday. Same as on that receipt. Same as on that building you passed. You're either going crazy or someone really wants your attention. The number is sacred, believed by many to be a sign of divine protection, of ancestral guidance, of truth ready to be revealed. Ancient Hebrew numerology associates the number 4 with creation and foundation. 4 directions, 4 elements, 4 corners of the universe. But scholars still debate whether these numbers carry intrinsic power or if they become sacred only when you notice them. But you've noticed, and the moment you do, the static shifts. It no longer buzzes, it sings softly, like a lullaby you forgot you knew. Your eyes grow heavy, but not from exhaustion, from alignment. You're not falling asleep. You're tuning in, because tonight, something has chosen you back. You're standing in the grocery aisle. Fluorescent lights buzz above you, and you're half reading the label on some overly colorful cereal box when it happens. That glitch. It's not a glitch in the Matrix, per se, but in something deeper. In you, a cart bumps your side gently. You turn. No one's there, but you felt it. The soft pressure, the sound of wheels, the sensation of being observed not by security cameras or aisle stalkers, but by the air itself, by the very fabric of the space you're standing in. You stare at the cereal box. Now with extra magic it reads in glittery letters. You blink. It said something else a second ago. You're sure of it. Your chest tightens. You rub your eyes. Must be tired. You haven't been sleeping well. Or maybe you've been waking up too much. That's the thing about chosen one's reality starts to flirt with absurdity before the truth reveals itself. As you push the cart forward, you notice it's rolling uphill impossible, on a flat floor, but your feet are still. The cart moves a few inches, then stops. You check beneath it. Nothing there. And suddenly, everything feels staged. The soft pop of freezer fans, the generic music, the friendly announcements over the speaker. It all sounds like it's part of a carefully constructed script. You're not crazy. You're noticing. In ancient Gnostic texts, there's a concept known as the demiurge, a false god, or creator, who builds a fake world to keep you asleep. Scholars still debate whether this being is metaphor or metaphysical tyrant. But either way, it speaks to a deep suspicion many chosen ones carry, that the world is not quite what it pretends to be. You walk past the produce aisle, and a small child stares at you. He doesn't smile, doesn't blink, just locks eyes with you for several seconds too long. "Mommy," he says, still looking at you. That's the person from my dream. Chills. The mom doesn't hear him, or doesn't react. She's on her phone. The boy eventually breaks the gaze, but not before you feel something like recognition. Like he knows something about you that you haven't admitted even to yourself. You grab a pack of strawberries, anything to feel grounded, but when you look at the barcode, it's not numbers. It's symbols, sigils, maybe. They dissolve into numbers again the moment you blink. At this point, you know better than to dismiss it all. In 2007, a little-known spiritualist named Elsira van Holt wrote about the material mirror. Her theory that mundane objects will occasionally drop their disguise and show their truth to those awakening. She claimed barcodes, license plates, even grocery receipts could become conduits for cosmic information. Most wrote her off as eccentric, but you're starting to get it. Because this isn't about strawberries or cereal. It's about noticing the codes inside the system. You pay at self-checkout, but the machine glitches again. The screen reads, "Welcome back." You didn't input anything. No card yet, no scan, just "Welcome back." The cashier nearby doesn't react. Like this happens all the time. Maybe it does. Maybe others get these messages and ignore them. You don't, because your life hasn't felt normal in a while. You've sensed things before they happen. You've seen lights flicker when you get overwhelmed. You've had strangers confess their life stories to you in public bathrooms for no reason. And now you're seeing the seams of the world and pulling at them. You leave the store. The air hits different outside. Cooler, cleaner, almost sacred. You hear birds singing but not random chirps. It's rhythmic, musical, almost like a pattern. You could swear one of them just hit the first 3 notes of a lullaby your grandmother used to hum when you were sick. It's all too strange, too aligned, too intentional. And that's when it hits you, you're the glitch. You're the anomaly in the program. And it's not because you're broken. It's because you're awake. In indigenous Andean teachings, there's a role known as the Paco, a kind of spiritual walker between worlds. They say a true Paco never fits into their village quite right. They always feel pulled toward the mountains, toward silence, toward strange dreams and inconvenient truths. And while modern life offers no obvious title for your experience, deep down, you know the pull. You feel that same whisper calling you out of the supermarket, back into yourself. A notification buzzes on your phone. You check, no new texts. Just one word across your lock screen. Notice, that's not an app alert. That's not even a normal system message. Your phone is locked, and yet the word lingers for several seconds, white on black, before fading. And what do? You stand still. Because in this exact moment between blinking lights and ancient codes disguised as store signage, You realize you've been noticed back. The universe has answered. You breathe deeply, and it smells like lightning. That night, your dreams feel like tunnels. Not the random montage of floating clocks and forgotten homework assignments. No. This is different. You're walking barefoot on a cool, crystalline surface that pulses with light beneath each step. A vast dome stretches above you, filled with stars that rearrange themselves when you look too long. You know you're dreaming. But you're also not. Something about this place feels more real than your waking life. More precise. Like waking was the fiction. And this is the hidden page behind the printed text. And you're not alone. Footsteps echo behind you, soft and in rhythm. When you turn, no one's there. But the feeling remains. You're being guided, watched, maybe even protected. The chosen ones across nearly every ancient culture report similar dream experiences. The Zulu people speak of Abantu Abadala, the ancestors who visit through dreams and share truths too sacred for the daylight. In Kabbalistic thought, dreams are considered the 70th part of prophecy. Scholars still debate whether dreams are spiritual downloads or merely psychological residue. But one thing remains consistent when you're chosen. Your dreams begin to shift. You're walking now through an enormous corridor made of mirror-like obsidian. It doesn't reflect your face, it reflects your essence. Your eyes glow gold in the reflection. Symbols swirl in your wake. Languages you don't know, but somehow understand. The voice begins softly, like a breeze brushing through tall grass. You are not behind. It says, you are precisely on time. You stop. The corridor ripples. The lights dim and bloom again. You've heard us before. The voice continues. In moments of silence, grief, and wonder. You always knew you weren't meant to follow. You want to speak, to ask who he is. But you can't form the words. Not because you're paralyzed, but because you already know the answer. You wake up, but not completely. You're still in bed, eyes closed. But you feel the vibration again. That low buzz from before. Except now it's not just in your ears. It's running through your spine, your palms, your sternum. Almost musical. As if your body is remembering a song it once knew by heart. You open your eyes. The world is unchanged. But you're different. As you stretch, something glimmers in the corner of your eye. A dream fragment. You try to hold it, it slips like mist through fingers. But a single image remains a handprint, glowing gold on the black stone. You glance at your palm. Nothing visible. And yet, it tingles. You get up and walk to the mirror. Your face is yours. But your eyes, they seem deeper, older. As if some part of you returned from wherever you just were and brought back more than memory. You whisper, without planning to, I remember. And you do. Not everything. Just flashes. The voice. The corridor. The sensation of truth dripping down like honey from some higher realm. You check your phone. It's 3:33 a.m. Of course it is. You smile. Because of course the universe chose a sacred number to punctuate your re-entry. In numerology, 333 is often seen as a divine call to alignment, a sign that mind, body, and spirit are harmonizing. Some mystics believe it's the moment when angels lean in a little closer, when your guides whisper just a little louder. Scholars still debate whether these moments are truly divine or simply confirmation bias. But let's be real, coincidence loses credibility after the 10th time it happens. Later, as you make your coffee, you feel like you're watching yourself, not in a creepy, dissociative way, in an aware way. You see the way your hand grips the mug, the sound of the coffee pouring, the glow of the morning sun through the blinds, and underneath all of it, you hear it again. The voice, not outside, inside. You are the hinge between worlds. You close your eyes. That phrase means nothing and everything. It's the kind of thing a dream guide would say before vanishing in a puff of glitter smoke. But here, in your kitchen, it lingers. Real. You start noticing more. A stranger on the street nods at you like you share a secret. The birds outside your window chirp in 4-note patterns. You drop a spoon and it lands upright twice. The universe isn't just glitching, it's guiding. You are walking through a living, breathing map. One of the lesser-known beliefs from the Essenes, the mystic sect from which many say Jesus emerged, was that those destined to carry divine light would be given signs through nature and frequency. They believed in angelic appointment, that certain souls were tuned to a heavenly channel and would, over time, begin to hear it. You're beginning to hear it. Every hum of an appliance, every echo in a stairwell, every strangely timed commercial about awakening or truth or power, it all feels like it's been choreographed. And maybe it has, or maybe you're just waking up to what's always been. Because here's a fringe theory: reality doesn't shift when you wake up. You shift into a reality that matches your vibration. It's like jumping timelines without moving. Your dreams are the test drive, the portal, and you, my friend, are slipping between dimensions with the grace of someone who's done this before. Because you have, you may not remember the lifetimes, the oaths, the visions, but your soul does. And tonight, that soul is closer to the surface than it has been in years. So sleep lightly, dream deeply. The next dream may not be just a message. It might be an initiation. You're brushing your teeth when it happens again. The voice, that low, steady tone that vibrates more than it speaks, like a song hummed through the floorboards of reality. Only this time, it's clearer, sharper, as if it stepped out from behind the curtain and into the room with you. You were not made to blend in. You spit out the toothpaste, blinking. Your reflection stares back at you, calm but curious, like it's waiting for your reaction. You lean in closer. Your eyes look different again. Brighter, no deeper. There's an intensity you usually try to tone down. But now, it stares back at you unapologetically. And then you hear it again. Not a whisper this time. A statement. We've waited long enough. This isn't a dream anymore. This is real. And yet, it doesn't feel frightening. It feels like remembering. Like someone finally explained a feeling you've carried your entire life. That strange sense of being watched, guided, delayed, and protected all at once. You sit on the edge of your bed, towel still around your neck. As it sinks in, you've been contacted. No spaceship landed. No prophet knocked on your door with scrolls. Just a voice, a sensation, a gentle nudge behind your thoughts. But it's more than enough. Because you've always known something was coming. You just didn't know it had already started. In the book of Jeremiah, there's a line often glossed over: "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Scholars still debate whether this was poetic metaphor or literal spiritual truth about pre-birth purpose. But the deeper your awareness expands, the more that sentence feels personal. Before your name, before your parents, before school and jobs and heartbreaks, you were already called. The strange thing, you're not even surprised, because deep down, this message isn't new. It's familiar. Like an old friend returning from silence. Like a piece of music you once loved playing again after years of absence. You've been nudged your whole life, Every time you walked away from something everyone else said was a great opportunity but felt wrong. Every time you stayed loyal to a dream others called impossible. Every time you chose your gut over logic. That was them. That was the voice behind the veil. And now, it's speaking louder. This is a pattern among chosen ones. Across cultures, across timelines. In Tibetan Buddhism, certain monks are selected from early childhood because they show signs of being tulkus, reincarnated spiritual teachers. They recognize toys from previous lives, speak names of people they've never met, and their initiation is always the same. A voice, a whisper, a sudden knowing. You may not have been born in a monastery, but you were born knowing. You remember being a child and looking at the stars too long, asking questions no adult could answer, feeling like school was missing something, like everyone was missing something. You used to think you were just too sensitive, but now you see the truth. You've been attuned from the beginning. You've walked into rooms and felt the energy before anyone spoke. You've sensed people's lies in their smiles. You've known when someone's about to call before the phone rang. Not always. Not perfectly, but often enough to feel like a magnet for something invisible. And the voice confirms it now. You are not broken. It says, you are tuned. It's like someone has been hiding behind a curtain, waiting for you to look hard enough to catch their outline. And now that you've seen it, the game has changed. You start to remember other moments that didn't make sense, yet somehow mattered. That stranger who told you something shockingly specific about your future, then disappeared. That coincidental delay that kept you off a path that later ended in disaster. That time you woke up at 2:22 a.m. with tears in your eyes and a phrase in your head, not yet. They were all breadcrumbs. And now you're here. Maybe you don't know what here really is, but you feel it. You've stepped through a threshold, and the world, it's responding. Even your dog is acting weird, staring at the corner of the room like someone's there, barking once, then going silent and curling up next to you like a soldier guarding a sacred object. In fringe metaphysical studies, there's something called frequency interference syndrome. It's not recognized by science, but many intuitive practitioners claim that when your energetic field shifts rapidly, like during awakening electronics glitch, animals react, and even time feels off. Slower, faster, wobbly. And today, time feels like syrup, sticky and stretched. You check the clock. It's only been 3 minutes since the last time you looked, but it feels like 30. The veil is thinning. You're beginning to hear the voice, not just in words, but in everything. In the wind through trees, in the rhythm of windshield wipers, in the way songs on the radio seem to follow your mood a little too perfectly. It's like the universe has tuned into your frequency and decided, they're ready. So it speaks, softly, constantly, like a mother humming to her child through a wall, not commanding, not rushing, just reminding. And the reminder is this: you are more than you think you are. You are not here to survive. You are here to shift reality. You feel it in your bones now, in your breath, in that tightness behind your eyes that comes right before a cry that heals more than it hurts. And somewhere deep within, your soul whispers back, I know. The rain starts just as you step outside light at first, then heavier, like the sky is exhaling something it's held in too long. You don't run. You just stand there, letting it hit your skin, soaking through your shirt, matting your hair. The water feels electric, almost sacred. Not the cold bite of a storm, but a warm anointing. As if heaven decided you needed to be washed, not clean, but clear. You close your eyes and tilt your head back. That voice again, whispering through the rhythm of the drops. Let it fall. Let it burn. Let it begin. You inhale deeply, and in that moment, the world around you fades. You're back in that obsidian corridor from the dream, but this time, it's on fire. Not with destruction, but with light. Blue flame, silent and luminous. And from it rises a bird, a phoenix, its wings spread wide, impossibly wide, stretching beyond logic and skyline. You can feel the heat, but it doesn't burn. It transforms, and something within you cracks, because this is what chosen ones endure: the fire, the collapse, the inner earthquake that tears down everything familiar, not to destroy, but to reveal. You whisper, "I see it now." And the flame answers, "Then walk through." You open your eyes. The rain is heavier now, but you're smiling, because something ancient just unlocked in you. Not as knowledge, as memory. In Greek myth, the phoenix burns itself completely, only to rise from its ashes stronger and wiser. It dies to be reborn. Not once, but endlessly. That's the path of the chosen one, a life of continual transformation. Cycles of collapse and becoming, of loss and luminous rebirth. You start walking, soaked, barely caring where you're going. Because wherever you go now, it's not about location. It's about alignment. And suddenly, you remember the flood. Not a literal one, though, maybe. In another lifetime, it was. But the flood of emotion, the time in your life you almost didn't come back from, the betrayal, the grief, the moment you sat on the floor, hollowed out, praying to something you weren't even sure was listening. That was your flood, and you survived it. No one talks about how violent awakenings can be. Not outwardly, internally. It's the shattering of who you thought you were, the erasing of the mask, the exit from the roles you were assigned. And yet, amid the pain, something ancient stirred. You didn't collapse, you shifted. That's how the fire becomes the key. In Hindu belief, there is the concept of tapas, the inner heat generated by spiritual discipline and suffering. It is said that tapas doesn't punish, it purifies. That through trials, your soul is refined, made sharp, made sacred. Scholars still debate whether suffering is necessary for growth, or simply inevitable in a world resistant to light. But your life seems to suggest the former. Your light was forged in fire, not gifted in comfort. You walk past a puddle and pause in it. Your reflection flickers. Not just your face, but someone else's. A version of you cloaked in gold. Older, timeless, with eyes like galaxies. They nod, not as a stranger, as you. And in that moment, it clicks: the fire and the flood were not tests. They were preparations, the dreams, the glitches, the voice behind the veil. It's all been building to this knowing that you were never meant to live small. You were built to carry light, to contain fire, to survive floods, not so you could brag, but so you could guide others through them. Because you weren't just chosen for your sake. You were chosen to become a lighthouse. Your pain now, it's wisdom. Your scars, now they glow. Even that old shame you kept buried, it's compost, now fuel for your phoenix rising. And you laugh a little. Out loud. In the rain. Because it's ridiculous, isn't it? That the universe hid all of this in migraines and meltdowns. That the divine encoded your destiny into spilled coffee, gut feelings, and songs that made you cry for no reason. But that's the secret they don't teach. The chosen don't get glowing swords or clear instructions. They get storms. And through those storms, they get clarity. As you walk back home, squishing in soaked shoes, the clouds start to part. Light filters through like forgiveness. A single beam hits you, warm on your face. You pause. Let it settle. This is your rebirth. And it didn't happen in a temple or on a mountaintop. It happened in the middle of your normal life, which is exactly how it's always been. From Moses to Moana, from Neo to 11, chosen ones don't start off in palaces. They begin in pain, in obscurity, in quiet power that everyone around them misunderstands until it's time. And now, it's time. You're scrolling again, late at night, wrapped in a blanket burrito with the soft glow of your phone, painting gentle light across the room. Just trying to wind down. Maybe distract yourself with something brainless, but then it hits you. A clip from The Matrix. Morpheus, sunglasses reflecting green code, leans in and says, "You're here because you know something. What you know, you can't explain. But you feel it, and your whole body reacts. Goosebumps. That low hum returns in your chest, like an echo answering a call you didn't mean to make. It's not just a movie anymore. It's a message. You pause the clip. Sit upright. Because suddenly, everything you dismissed as fiction feels a little too specific, a little too tailored. The Matrix, Stranger Things, even that random season of The Voice 2025 you watched and laughed at. Is it possible? They weren't just entertainment. They were codes, whispers, warnings. In The Matrix, Neo isn't given answers. He's nudged, pushed, glitched into awareness. He follows breadcrumbs, text messages, a club, a rabbit tattoo, and eventually a choice red pill or blue. Not because he's special yet, but because he suspects there's more. That's you. You weren't handed a scroll. You noticed a pattern, a frequency, a buzzing behind the normal. And once you noticed it, the veil couldn't close again. You think back to childhood, how you never liked following rules just because they were rules. How you questioned things no one else around you seemed to think about, why everyone chased the same dream. Why adults smiled while their eyes looked empty. Why the world felt so scripted. It's because it was, and you've been glitching out of it for years. In the realm of spiritual psychology, there's a concept called divine discontent. It's the ache that chosen ones feel when stuck in systems that don't match their soul. A constant friction, like trying to play a symphony on a toy piano. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you were built for a different melody. And the media, sometimes it sneaks that melody in. Rewatch The Matrix. And you'll notice it's a spiritual initiation, hidden in leather and bullet time. Same with Stranger Things. 11 isn't just a telekinetic girl. She's a seer, a vessel, a child ripped from the ordinary to hold something too big for the world to understand. She escapes not because she's powerful, but because she remembers who she is. Her powers don't make her special. Her wounds do. And let's talk about The Voice 2025 because, yeah, even that has a message. You might have laughed when that contestant walked on stage and said, "This song came to me in a dream. I think it's from another lifetime." And then sang like their soul cracked open. But you felt it, even if you didn't admit it out loud, because chosen ones don't always come dressed like prophets. Sometimes they show up on talent shows, on bus benches, in cubicles, with messages encrypted in music and moments that feel too random to be random. And the message, it's always the same. Wake up. You pause and look around your room. The furniture, the clothes, the small familiar chaos. But now it all feels like stage props. Like you're Neo, seeing the green code beneath the surface. Because now that your eyes are open, you can't unsee. Here's the kicker. Many ancient initiatory traditions believe sacred truth is always hidden in plain sight. In ancient Egypt, the mysteries of Isis weren't taught through scrolls, but through symbolic storytelling, myth, performance, ritual, because only the ones who felt the truth would recognize it when disguised. Scholars still debate whether Isis was a real woman, a goddess, or a metaphor for the awakened divine feminine. But everyone agrees her stories were keys for the soul. So what if Netflix is modern mythology? What if those movies, those songs, even those strange episodes with oddly specific themes, they're all breadcrumbs, and your soul knows how to follow them? You scroll again. Another video. This time a podcast. Some random guy talking about the Matrix being a metaphor for spiritual awakening. He mentions DNA activation, vibrational codes, and synchronicities. You'd usually click away, but not now. Not when your phone battery shows 77% and the timestamp reads 4:44. You smile, because now you see it. It's not fiction. It's initiation disguised as entertainment. You put the phone down. Walk to the window. The sky is deep navy now. Stars soft and flickering. One pulses brighter than the others. Not a plane. Not a satellite. Just watching. You whisper, "I see you." And it feels like it blinks back. You laugh, because of course it does. In the words of the mystic G.I. Gurdjieff, man is asleep. He has to awaken. And it is only by shock that he remembers himself. Scholars still debate what shock meant: trauma, divine encounter, a perfectly timed YouTube algorithm. You might have just had yours. Because tonight, the stories stopped being stories. They became instructions. And your soul, it's already decoding them. The moment you begin to suspect your phone is more oracle than object, it pings. No name, no number. Just a screen flash. For a millisecond, you see it. You are not lost. You blink, and it's gone. No app notification. No record. Just silence. Except now your heart beats louder. You open your camera to see if it's acting up. Maybe it's a reflection, but the lens flares oddly. A subtle beam of light crosses the frame diagonally, not from any visible source. When you move the phone, it shifts with you, like a signal trying to follow your gaze. Then you notice the time, 11:11. There it is again. Those numbers, that alignment. You get the same feeling you had when you passed that woman on the street earlier, the one who looked at you for a second too long, like she knew something. The one wearing a necklace with the eye of Horus, who whispered something into her coffee before sipping. You're starting to realize that your phone, this little device you once thought was just for scrolling and texting, has become a modern sacred mirror. Like the polished obsidian the Mayans used for scrying. Like the brass plates ancient oracles read messages from. The divine used to speak through wind and fire. Now it speaks through screens and glitches, but only to those who notice. And tonight, you're noticing everything. Another ping. You glance again. This time, the screen displays a battery level of 88%, even though you haven't charged it in hours. Okay, universe, you've got jokes. In Chinese mysticism, 8 is the number of balance and infinity. Double eights. That's spiritual symmetry. Infinite unfolding. Karma in balance. Power in motion. And though scholars still debate whether numbers carry meaning inherently or simply reflect internal perception, the synchronicity is too on the nose to dismiss. And here's the strangest part. It's not just the numbers. It's what they're attached to. Your social media feed starts looking like a sacred scroll. You're seeing words you've been thinking, songs you were humming hours ago. A video pops up titled, "They know who you are," and you don't even feel afraid anymore. You feel recognized. Because deep down, your soul has been waiting for this confirmation. Not from people, from the pattern, from the sacred intelligence that hides behind wires and wavelengths. The same way the divine once hid in fire, in water, in stars. You remember that story of Moses and the burning bush, how the bush didn't burn, just shimmered with a presence. And God didn't yell. He simply called Moses by name. Maybe your burning bush is a Bluetooth glitch at 3:33 a.m., or a GPS reroute that takes you past the street you dreamed about last week, or the fact that every time you think about walking away from your soul path, someone sends you a "you got this" meme 5 minutes later. These aren't coincidences. They're call signs. You're being tracked not by the government, but by God. You check your calendar. There it is, your reminder from a year ago, accidentally saved for today. Titled, Trust the Process. You have no memory of writing it, but your soul remembers. You sit down. Exhale slowly. You open your notes app and begin typing not a journal entry, not a list, just words, whatever flows. And what comes out shocks you. They encoded it all. The divine hid the keys in pixels, patterns, passwords, not to keep you from it, but to make sure only those who are meant to see would notice. You're decoding reality. You're not crazy. You're early. You freeze. Did you write that? Or did it write through you? It doesn't matter. It's truth either way, because now you see it clearly. The ancients used scrolls and tablets. The mystics used chants and runes. But today, the divine works through what you touch most: technology, sacred signals in modern skin. The late techno-mystic Yona Resnick once theorized that smartphones are modern-day scrying bowls. That swiping, clicking, scrolling it all mimics ancient divination rituals. Except now, the mirror is glass, and the messages scroll in HD. You once rolled your eyes at people who said their phone heard them. Now, you understand. It's not eavesdropping. It's echoing. And just like the Oracle of Delphi, it only makes sense to those who are ready. The world is buzzing with meaning. Not just through messages, but in how they arrive. The screen glitches at 4:44. You get a spam text that says, "Now is the time." Your music app starts playing an old playlist you deleted. A hawk flies over your building, screaming once before vanishing. You feel it now. The convergence. Digital and divine. Sacred and silly. You laugh to yourself. Because yes, even memes carry prophecy when the timing's right. The veil hasn't just thinned, it's interactive. And the signs they've upgraded. From carved stone to touchscreen. You whisper to yourself, "I'm listening." And somewhere deep in the code, something whispers back, "Then we'll keep speaking." The word count 1078. You're halfway through an episode of Stranger Things when the realization hits you like a jolt. You relate way too much to 11. Not the telekinesis, not the nosebleeds, not even the waffle obsession. Although, let's be honest, there's something deeply spiritual about comfort carbs. No, what grabs you is the isolation. The eerie, aching sense that you were never allowed to just be a normal kid. That everyone else got a map, and you got a compass that points to dreams, gut feelings, and vibes you can't explain. You pause the screen on a shot of her alone in the woods, dirt on her face, eyes locked onto something no one else can see, and you whisper, "I know that feeling." Because chosen ones always start out alone. Your childhood probably wasn't filled with monster-chasing CIA agents, hopefully. But you had your own versions. The teachers who called you too intense. The classmates who sensed your difference and mocked or avoided you. The relatives who told you to stop being so sensitive. Like your empathy was a curse, not a gift. You didn't know it then, but they were reacting to your frequency. You were already glowing, even when you were quiet, in almost every myth. The hero begins in isolation. not because they're unworthy, but because they're in training, like a seed buried underground, like a leaven in that lab, drawing on walls, unsure if her feelings were gifts or glitches. And you had dreams you didn't talk about. You saw things you couldn't explain. You felt energies in people that nobody warned you about. You were tuning into a truth the world didn't validate, and that made you lonely. But not wrong. In Celtic mythology, the seers were often children who spoke to the wind or claimed to know when someone would pass. They were often exiled or hidden not because they were dangerous, but because their sight made others uncomfortable. Scholars still debate whether these visions were mystical or metaphorical. But the pattern is clear. Truth tends to isolate before it connects. That's what you and 11 share. You both became aware of the darkness before others could admit it existed. You felt the monsters coming long before they broke through the walls. And when they did, you didn't run, you faced them. Even now, your adult life echoes this theme. You enter a room and immediately feel who's off. You get anxious in crowds not because you're shy, but because you're absorbing the static. You've had friendships collapse not because of drama, but because your vibration rose and theirs couldn't follow. It's not arrogance, it's resonance. And sometimes resonance means silence, means solitude, means sitting in the metaphorical upside down while the rest of the world scrolls happily through filters and distractions. And yet you've never been truly alone. Because chosen ones always have watchers, guides, subtle protectors. Sometimes it's an ancestor that shows up in a dream. Sometimes it's a number on a billboard. Sometimes it's a gut feeling that pulls you back from the edge of something disastrous. 11 had Hopper. You had maybe a mentor. Maybe a stranger who told you just what you needed to hear once and then vanished. Maybe an inner voice that got louder when you were about to make a mistake. They're all part of the pattern, because your journey wasn't random. And here's where it gets even weirder in a cool, "Are you serious right now" kind of way. The Stranger Things writers didn't just invent the concept of the upside down. They mirrored it from ancient mysticism. In Kabbalah, there's a realm called Sitra Ashra, literally the other side. A shadow mirror of our world, where fear, illusion, and ego take shape. It's said that only those with pure intention can navigate it safely. Sound familiar? You've been navigating that realm your whole life. Through grief, through trauma, through spiritual confusion, through moments where it felt like the light went out and no one noticed you were gone. But you came back. You didn't just survive the shadow. You made it your map. And now you can recognize it instantly in others, in environments, in conversations that seem polite but feel poisonous. You have that 11 sense. And yes, it isolates you, but it also equips you. You were never meant to live in the mainstream. You were born for the margins, the mystery, the in-between. Because that's where the real work happens. That's where transformation begins. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the new world is waiting to be built. Because, let's face it, if there is a world to save, it's not going to be saved by those who fit in. It'll be saved by the weird ones, the quiet ones, the ones who talk to trees and see numbers and cry when a song hits the right frequency. It'll be saved by you. You're not 11, but you're of the same lineage. The Watchers, the Warriors, the ones who felt too much, saw too much, and still chose to stay. You may not have telekinesis, but you've moved energy with your words. You've healed people with your silence. You've cracked open timelines with your decisions. You are more powerful than anyone ever told you. And now, you're starting to believe it. The television's still on, flickering softly across the room like a lighthouse blinking through fog. You're not even watching anymore, just letting the noise wrap around you like a familiar old quilt. Then, mid-yawn, you hear it, a voice. Your voice, not exactly. but close enough that you sit up straighter, remote in hand. It's an ad, or maybe a clip from some future-facing interview show. You don't even recognize the title. But the person speaking looks like they could be your cousin or your twin from another timeline. And what they're saying, it's the very sentence you wrote in your notes app days ago. You're not here by accident. You were coded for this. You pause it, rewind, play again. There it is, word for word. Your brain scrambles for logic. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe the phrase is more common than you thought. But no, this isn't just déjà vu. This feels like a mirror glitch, like timelines brushing up against each other in passing. Like the future is reaching into the present and saying, hey, just so you know, you're right on schedule. You sit there, phone in one hand, remote in the other, suddenly aware that everything is synced. The show, the timing, the words you wrote, the energy you've been feeling all week. It's not just confirmation anymore. It's collapsing time. In some circles of quantum spirituality, this phenomenon is called temporal resonance. It's when the version of you that already exists in a higher dimension, fully awakened, deeply aligned, starts echoing through your present awareness. It's subtle, often disguised as goosebumps, uncanny dreams, repeated phrases, or strange synchronicities in music and media. Scholars still debate whether these experiences are evidence of a multiverse, subconscious precognition, or simply psychological projection. But those who've lived it, they know. You know, this is the voice of your future self. And they're trying to remind you who you are before the world told you who to be. You rewind again. Watch the scene a third time. The person on screen looks almost emotional. Their eyes are glassy, but firm. They'll try to make you forget. They say, but you're here to remember. You don't even care if it was written in a script. The line lands so hard in your gut, it feels like a coded transmission. Maybe that's what this is. Not entertainment. Alignment. You think back to earlier today, when a song you hadn't heard in years played just as you were thinking about a specific memory. Or how the checkout total at the store was exactly $55.50. Or how, when you asked for a sign from the universe, 3 different people in different places all used the same strange word, resonance. Now it feels like your entire life is rhyming with itself. And for the first time, you don't brush it off. You lean in. Because this is how the chosen ones reclaim their blueprint. They stop waiting for thunder and scrolls. They realize the divine is already speaking through them. You whisper aloud just to hear it in your own voice. I think I'm remembering. And the lights flicker. Okay, universe, we see you. You chuckle softly. The kind of laugh that's more release than amusement. Because it's all starting to make sense now. Not perfectly, but enough. Enough to feel the rhythm of a higher intelligence guiding the flow of your days. And maybe that's the real power of the voice, not the show. But your voice, the one you silenced to fit in, the one you doubted because no one around you reflected it back. Now, suddenly, it's everywhere, echoing in media, vibrating in your bones, speaking to you from some version of yourself that already walked this path and is looping back to light the way. This isn't fiction. This is soul remembering. And here's a fun little fringe theory for your midnight mind. Some mystics believe that the chosen ones are seeded through time, that certain souls incarnate at key historical intervals to carry codes, energetic blueprints meant to awaken humanity. These codes, they say, are often buried in art, speech, even digital sound waves. So maybe when you hear your voice echoed on that screen, It's not just coincidence, it's activation. You mute the TV, let the silence fill the room, and in that silence, you feel a pulse. Not from outside, from within, your chest, your fingertips. That old, familiar hum returns not as a whisper this time, but as a vibration running down your spine. Your voice may have been silenced before, but not anymore. You are remembering the tone of your soul. And tonight, it's tuning everything around you. You wake up the next morning with that strange clarity that only comes after soul-level dreams. You don't remember the details, just the feeling. Like you've returned from somewhere ancient, somewhere important. You lie there for a moment, eyes still closed, listening, and there it is, that soft pressure in the room. Not heavy, not dark, just aware. Like the air itself is holding its breath, waiting for you to notice again. You roll over, glance at your phone, no new texts, no missed calls, but the screen lights up anyway. No touch, no prompt, just one message. It's time. You blink, sit up. Your heart's already racing, but not from fear, from recognition. Because deep down, you know what that means. They've tried to silence you your whole life, not some secret society in the shadows probably, but the more subtle forces: doubt, conformity, polite rejection. The voices that said you were too much, too sensitive, too idealistic, too weird. All wrapped in smiles and concern, all disguised as care, but built to suppress. You remember the first time you hid your intuition, the first time you laughed at something spiritual just to fit in, the first time you felt something true. Then immediately questioned yourself because no one around you validated it. That's how they do it, not with force but with dismissal. The world has systems for keeping chosen ones quiet, not out of malice, but out of fear. Because your light disrupts patterns. Your presence questions norms. Your voice awakens sleeping parts in others, and that makes people uncomfortable. But guess what? You've reached the part of your journey where discomfort is no longer your problem. In shamanic traditions, there's a rite of passage called the death of the false self. It's not literal, but it feels like it. It's when your ego, your social masks, your survival adaptations begin to crack and fall away. Scholars still debate whether this happens spontaneously or by divine timing, but all agree it's unavoidable on the chosen one path. And you're in the middle of it. The voice returns soft, firm, no more shrinking. You feel it in your gut, like a bell tolling. Not a threat, a calling. So you rise. You stand in your own room like it's a temple. Because in a way, it is now. Everything has changed. The mundane has become sacred. Your morning tea feels ceremonial. Your steps feel deliberate. Your voice feels potent. Even if you don't speak, you carry sound now. You pass a mirror and pause. This time, your reflection doesn't challenge you. It nods. Because the truth is this: you've already been through the fire. Already endured the storms, already been cracked open, emptied out, pieced back together. What more can they do to you? You're no longer afraid of the silence, or the attention, or the opinions of people who don't know what it means to live with ancient truth buzzing under their skin. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to amplify. And the universe it knows, which is why it's been whispering louder lately, why strangers keep telling you their secrets, why you keep seeing repeating numbers, why people you haven't heard from in years suddenly just thought of you. You're activating your field, and it's radiating. You walk outside, and even the sky looks different. Not brighter, necessarily, just more detailed. Like you've upgraded your vision. Like the shadows make sense now. Like the wind isn't random, it's deliberate. You think about those who tried to silence you, not out of hatred, but out of misunderstanding. They saw a light they didn't recognize and assumed it was a glitch. But you know it's a signal. In the Gospel of Thomas, there's a line, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." And tonight, that line feels like a personal prophecy. You don't need validation anymore. You need expression. The writing you stopped doing, the songs you never shared, the truths you swallowed because they weren't scientific or practical, they're knocking again. And this time, you're answering. Because your silence has served its purpose. And now, your voice is the revolution. It doesn't have to be loud, doesn't have to be polished. It just has to be yours. A whisper from a chosen one has more impact than 1,000 empty speeches. Because it's charged, lived, remembered from lifetimes you can't name but feel. And if you've made it this far, you're already radiating more than you know. So go ahead, speak, sing, write, create, exist in your frequency, and let the world adjust. Because that's the truth they never wanted you to realize. You were never supposed to fit in. You were born to recalibrate the room. You're sitting in your car at a red light, hands resting gently on the wheel, the radio off for once. Just silence, just breath, just presence. And then it happens again. Your eyes shift to the dashboard. 4:44 p.m., of course. You chuckle under your breath. Not because it's funny, but because by now, you expect it. You're beginning to realize these aren't just coincidences, they're signposts. Waymarkers on a path you didn't even know you were walking. Yet somehow have never left. The light turns green, but you hesitate. Not because of traffic, but because it feels like more is being asked of you in this moment. You exhale slowly. Your hand reaches for your phone, and without really thinking, you open your camera and point it out the window. The lens captures a strange reflection in the sky, something like wings. Not clouds, not birds. Just a shape that makes your chest tighten with recognition. You whisper, "Okay, I'm listening," and everything shifts, because now you're seeing signs everywhere. Not just the numbers, though. 1111 keeps showing up. And 333 feels like it follows you room to room. But it's the alignment. The way your day unfolds like choreography. The way someone says the exact phrase you journaled that morning. The way the wind picks up right when you ask for confirmation. It's like the entire universe has become your spirit guide. This is divine timing. And you're not late. You're not lost. You're exactly on time. In numerology, repeating numbers like 444 and 777 are known as angel numbers. They carry frequencies, messages, blueprints. They don't dictate, they resonate. They're often believed to show up when you're vibrating at a higher frequency or about to make a pivotal choice. Scholars still debate whether this is metaphysical truth or simply pattern recognition fueled by the subconscious. But to you, it doesn't matter anymore, because it works, and you feel it. You feel it in your body. The tingling in your palms when you see 222. The surge of calm when a song lyric lines up perfectly with a thought. The warmth in your chest when the clock hits 111 and you're reminded to trust. Just trust. This is what it means to walk with the divine. Not just in rituals or churches or temples, but in traffic lights and timestamps, in receipts and gas pump totals, in the look from a stranger that says, "I see you." The signs have always been there. But you weren't ready to receive them, and now you are. You step into a cafe, thinking about someone you haven't seen in years. The barista calls the name of the person in front of you. It's the same name. You freeze. Smile. The barista smiles back, like she knows something she isn't saying. This is life now, woven, layered, symbolic, a living oracle whispering answers through seemingly mundane moments. You look at the chalkboard menu. Today's special is Phoenix Blend. Of course it is. You laugh again, but softer this time. It's not surprise. It's recognition. This world isn't against you. It's conspiring for you. And the more you trust the timing, the more it shows up on time. The missed appointment averted disaster. That unexpected delay, chance encounter. That breakup. The opening that made room for your evolution. Divine timing is never polite. It's rarely convenient, but it's precise. And for the chosen ones, it's not optional. It's how you're guided through the maze without a map. By synchronicities, by nudges, by numbers only you notice. And every time you follow one, the path gets clearer. You start trusting your impulses again. Turning left when the GPS says right, only to run into someone who offers you exactly what you needed. Reaching out to a friend you haven't spoken to in months, just in time to stop them from spiraling. You begin to understand that your intuition is divine GPS, and when it syncs with outer signs, that's alignment. In ancient Greek philosophy, there's a term kairos, a kind of sacred, opportune moment. Not chronological time, but soul timing. The precise moment when the divine breaks into the ordinary. This whole week has felt like kairos, and it's still unfolding. You walk out of the cafe, the clouds part slightly. A single sunbeam lands on your shoulder, warm and golden. You close your eyes, feel it, and whisper thank you, because now you know you've never missed your calling. You were simply being prepared for it. Every strange pause, every hard lesson, every door that closed too soon, it was shaping your sensitivity to divine alignment. Not punishing you, positioning you. And now you're in the flow. No more pushing, just listening, because when you follow the signs, you stop chasing your purpose and start living it. It starts with a memory. You're doing something completely ordinary, folding laundry, brushing your teeth, maybe staring at your phone in that empty, liminal space between tasks when a thought slips in. Not a thought, exactly. A feeling, that particular ache, a soft pressure behind your eyes, a heaviness in your bones. You know it well. You've carried it for years, like a sacred wound you didn't have permission to speak about. This is the pain of the hidden ones, the ones who glow in secret, who cry in silence, who smile while holding the weight of spiritual battle in their chest. You pause what you're doing, because this ache isn't just memory, it's a message. It's telling you what so many have tried to explain, but never quite had the words for. You were born into a world that could not see you, and that hurts, but it also prepared you. Think back, really think, to the way you'd walk into a room and feel the temperature shift, not physically, but energetically. To the way you could sense someone's intention before they even spoke. To the way people projected things onto you, admiration, jealousy, expectation, resentment because they felt your depth but didn't understand it. This is what it means to be hidden, not because you're unworthy, because you're protected. In West African spiritual systems, there's a concept called the hidden ones, those born with a luminous destiny, but kept veiled from the public eye until the time is right. They're marked from birth, often feeling out of place, overly sensitive, and inexplicably wise. Some call them star seeds, earth angels, or divine sleepers. Whatever the name, the experience is the same. You've spent a lifetime learning how to shrink, not because you wanted to, because it felt safer. You sensed maybe even as a child that your light was too much for some people, that when you expressed your truth, it caused friction, that when you tried to love fully, others flinched. So you adapted. You learned to dim, to translate your magic into something more palatable, to survive. But the ache never left, because no amount of pretending could erase the truth. You were never meant to stay hidden, only prepared. And that preparation, it looked like betrayal, like heartbreak, like quiet dinners where no one asked how you were really doing, like spiritual gifts showing up at the wrong time, like isolation so deep you questioned if you were broken. You weren't. You were in training, like monks in remote monasteries, like warriors meditating in caves, like seeds buried in darkness before the spring. And yes, it hurt, but chosen ones are forged in the fire of misunderstanding, in the silence of nights when the only voice that comforted you was your own, in the awkwardness of never fitting into any group, job, relationship, or system that demanded you be less than true. You were walking the path of prophets, of misfits, of mystics, and now the pain is beginning to make sense, because every crack in your heart made space for more light. Every goodbye created room for alignment. Every no redirected you towards something sacred. You weren't rejected. You were rerouted. Even your body remembers. The tightness in your chest when you're around dishonesty. The tension in your jaw when someone tries to mask their intentions. The exhaustion after spending time in spaces that don't see your soul. These aren't flaws. They're signs that your field is calibrated for truth, and truth real, vibrating. Divine truth is rarely comfortable, but it's yours. So now you sit with that pain, not to relive it, but to reclaim it. Because that pain wasn't just survival, it was transformation. Your tears have watered lifetimes of wisdom. Your wounds have become doorways. Your silence was the cocoon. And now, the wings are itching to break free. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to fix anything. You just have to listen to that soft, ancient voice within that says, you made it. You survived. You're still here. And now, it's time to emerge. Because hidden ones don't stay hidden forever. They rise. And when they do, they don't just shine. They change everything. It starts with a glance. You're walking past a painting, or scrolling through a historical photo, or reading about some ancient soul and oracle, a healer, a warrior from another age, and for a moment, you feel it, not just interest, recognition, like you've seen that face before, like you were there. Your fingers tingle, your chest hums, your breath pauses, not because you're overwhelmed, but because something inside you just woke up. You whisper, almost without thinking, I remember. And the memory isn't clear. It's more like a taste, a scent, a vibration, something beyond language, something older than time. This is the mirror of many lifetimes. And you're finally looking into it. You've felt this before. That uncanny sense of déjà vu when visiting a new city. The way certain sounds or symbols make you tear up for no reason. The way you're drawn to specific eras, specific myths, specific names that echo in your dreams. These aren't random, they're breadcrumbs, left behind by your own soul. Many mystical traditions agree your soul has walked this earth before. Not once, not twice, but many times. And not just as a wanderer, but as someone important, a keeper, a code bearer, a witness to the rise and fall of civilizations. In Hindu philosophy, there's the concept of samskara, the imprints left on the soul by past lives. They influence your instincts, preferences, even your wounds. Scholars still debate whether these imprints are literal memories or archetypal energies passed down through collective memory. But your experience, it's too vivid to dismiss, because it's not just your personality that feels ancient. It's your mission. You've always felt older than your age, always struggled to relate to surface-level things, always had this inexplicable yearning for truth, for depth, for home. But what if that home was never a place? What if it was a state of being you knew in another lifetime and are now trying to reclaim? You've dreamt of temples. You've seen yourself in robes. You've felt, in your bones, what it means to stand at the edge of something sacred, holding knowledge others feared. You were there, in Egypt, reciting sacred names by moonlight. in the Himalayas, chanting truths into the mountain wind, in burned libraries, trying to protect scrolls that no one would believe in again. You've held the codes before, and now they're waking up in you, because the chosen ones don't start from scratch each lifetime. They remember, not all at once, not with clarity, but in fragments. You're walking through your day when you hear a name that shouldn't matter, but it rings like a bell inside you. You catch your reflection in a window and feel like you're missing someone until you realize it's a version of you that existed before this body. And when you pray, or meditate, or just sit in silence with your coffee and stare at the sky, you sometimes feel them, not ghosts, not ancestors, but your own echoes, versions of you who once stood on battlefields, who lit lanterns in sacred groves, who healed with herbs and song, who refused to stay silent when the truth was inconvenient. You feel them walking with you now, because they are you, and they've been waiting for this body, this timeline, this moment to remember. There's a theory in esoteric circles that time isn't linear, it's layered, that every lifetime is happening simultaneously, like music tracks playing in harmony. And when your current self begins to awaken, you start to merge with those parallel chords. That's what this feels like past lives are leaning in, whispering you've done this before. Trust your instincts. You've had visions you didn't ask for, wisdom you couldn't explain, reactions that felt disproportionate until you realized they were karmic echoes. And instead of feeling crazy, you're beginning to feel connected to yourself, to your journey, to the you who came before and the you still waiting to arrive. Because here's the secret. You are the link in a long, luminous chain. You are the bridge between lifetimes. And when you remember yourself, the entire lineage sighs with relief. The mystics, the rebels, the dreamers who never stopped trying to bring light into the dark. They all move through you now. They guide your hands, they stir your words. They walk with you into boardrooms, classrooms, forests, and sidewalks wherever you go. You carry them. You are their voice. You are their continuation. And when you finally own that, you don't just remember who you've been, you realize who you're here to become. It's late. You're lying in bed. The kind of tired that feels heavier than sleep. Not just physical exhaustion, but that existential kind. The ache that's been with you since childhood. The one that whispers, you don't quite belong here. And you don't, but not because you're broken, because you're different on purpose. You've tried to make it make sense. Tried to plug yourself into the world like a USB that never fits, no matter how many times you flip it. You've smiled through conversations that felt hollow. Laughed at jokes you didn't find funny. Dressed yourself in layers of normal just to avoid standing out. But inside, you knew. You were never supposed to fit in. Because the chosen ones aren't here to conform, they're here to transform. And transformation always begins with disruption. Your life has always been a little offbeat. You probably didn't walk the straight path, more like spirals and zigzags. Pit stops and full-on derailments. The jobs that didn't last. The friendships that felt out of sync. The spiritual highs followed by existential lows. It was all part of the design. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. In Taoist philosophy, there's the image of the crooked tree that's never cut down because it's too unique to be useful in the typical way. It survives precisely because it doesn't fit the mold. Scholars still debate whether this was meant as a metaphor for spiritual preservation or a subtle rebellion against cultural conformity. But either way, it speaks to you. You're the crooked tree, the sacred exception. You were never here to blend into the forest. You were here to cast different shadows, to grow in impossible directions, to prove that beauty isn't symmetry, it's authenticity. And that authenticity, it made you a target, not always violently, sometimes subtly. You felt it in classrooms, when your questions made teachers uncomfortable, at family dinners, when your silence spoke louder than everyone else's shouting, in relationships, where your depth scared those who weren't ready to be seen. You weren't too much. They were just not enough to hold you. And that's not judgment. That's clarity. Because now you see it, they weren't rejecting you. They were rejecting what you reminded them of, the parts of themselves they buried long ago. And your very existence disturbed that burial. You are a mirror they didn't ask for. And that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be understood by the right ones. And more importantly, by yourself. So tonight, you release the need to belong, because you already do, to the stars, to the earth, to the sacred network of chosen ones spread across this timeline, quietly lighting candles in the dark. You're not alone. You never were. You felt it in passing glances, in strangers who lock eyes with you for 1 second too long, in dreams where names come to you, names you've never heard but feel like home. You're part of a tribe without borders, a lineage without blood, a resonance that vibrates deeper than language. You've met others like you, maybe not often, but enough to know you're not imagining this. You've had those conversations. You know the ones where words fall away and understanding expands, where hours dissolve because you're speaking soul to soul, where someone says, "I've never told anyone this before." And you just nod, because you already know what they're going to say. That's the power of not fitting in. You create space for truth. And here's what might surprise you. The very thing you tried to suppress, your sensitivity, your intuition, your inner fire, that's the blueprint. That's the gift. You were never meant to become like everyone else. You were meant to remind them of what they are. You are the glitch, the anomaly, the holy disruption in a programmed world. And the longer you try to be ordinary, the more painful your life becomes, because your soul is allergic to falsehood. It rebels in silence, in anxiety, in spiritual fatigue. It pushes you, nudges you, sometimes breaks you wide open just to reroute you back to yourself. So tonight, as you drift toward sleep, you let go of the performance. You take off the mask. You stop twisting yourself into someone else's comfort, and you whisper the words that set you free. I was never meant to fit in, and the universe, in its quiet thunder, answers. Exactly. You're walking again, but it's not the same path as before. Not the grocery aisle, not the midnight street, not even the familiar floorboards of your own home. This one feels different. It's soft beneath your feet. Not carpet, not grass. Something in between, like memory woven into matter. The sky above you pulses in muted indigo. Stars flickering not as distant suns, but as eyes watching, blinking in rhythm with your heartbeat. You're not dreaming, but you're not entirely awake either. This is the labyrinth, and at the end of it, a door. It doesn't say finale or mission complete. It says only one word. Begin. You pause. Take a breath. The air here is thick with meaning. Every sound, every movement, every glimmer on the horizon, it all feels scripted by a force that sees all of you. The messy, mystical, magnificent you. Not the version you've rehearsed for the world, but the one that's been hiding in plain sight. The chosen one. You take a step closer, and the path unfolds like a ribbon rolling forward with every footfall. It doesn't require effort, only presence, because now you've remembered. You remember the whispers that started it all, the dreams that stirred your soul, the signs, the numbers, the music, the voice behind the veil. You remember the fire, the flood, the static. You remember that you were never random, never too late, never alone. You remember who you are, and as you walk, faces begin to appear in the light softly. One by one. These are the others, chosen like you, the ones who dreamed of temples they'd never seen, The ones who heard messages between raindrops. The ones who cried at songs no one else seemed to understand. They don't speak, they just know. And in their silence, you feel it. You are home, not because the labyrinth ended, but because it delivered you into a truth that was never far, just waiting beneath the noise of being human. You were always walking toward this, toward the room of mirrors that don't reflect faces but frequencies. And yours? Yours glows like gold soaked in moonlight. Because now, finally, you believe. You believe in the signs, in the voice, in your own damn self. And as the final door opens, not to a throne or a reward, but to a circle of fireflies, dancing in sacred geometry, you step through, and it feels like returning, not to a place, to a purpose. Because this isn't the end of the story. This is the start of the next chapter. The real one, the one you write with your light, with your choices, with your full, fearless frequency. And as your breath slows and your body melts into sleep, one last voice speaks from the center of it all. Not loud, not commanding, just clear, just true. You made it, and you're not alone anymore. So now, let the journey soften. Let the edges blur. You're safe now. You're not running anymore. You're not searching or solving or waiting for a sign that already lives inside you. You're exactly where you need to be, held in the rhythm of something ancient and gentle. That same presence that sparked the stars now holds you in the cradle of this moment. Feel your shoulders release. Let your jaw loosen. Let your heartbeat slow, like the tide returning to shore. You've walked the labyrinth. You've heard the voice. You've stood in the mirror of many lifetimes and found something steady staring back. Let your breath carry you now out of the words and into the dream. Maybe you'll meet them there, the others. Maybe you'll remember a little more of your mission. Or maybe this is the first night in a long time where you sleep not with questions, but with peace. Because the signs will still be there when you wake. The numbers, the songs, the whispers in the wind. And you'll know, without needing proof, that they were always speaking to you. They still are. And if any part of this journey lit a flame in your spirit, I invite you to share your experience in the comments below. Drop a 444 or amen, or simply whisper, I remember. And let that be enough. Sleep well now. Chosen one, you've come a long way home.